Well, here we are back. I'd have been here yesterday, but ran a little bit late here, and of course, Christmas shopping and everything else going on takes a little bit of while. But today we have a moon that, as you can see right here, is in square aspect to the sun. Last quarter. This is usually when the weather starts kicking in a little bit worse than we're used to having. The problem is, though, here on the west coast we have Sagittarius rising, and we have Aries in the fourth house. Both hot signs indicating a warming trend here. And the problem with the warming trend is that we have the Mars, the ruler of the fourth house. Mars is in a cold, dry sign in a hot planet like it is. This is going to give us some problems, probably in a lot of fog, which we have been having, and I think we're going to continue to have, as you can't mix the two. And the two either give us a storm, but it's much too mild, and the heat is overriding the storm area. So I have a feeling that although we'll see some rain a little bit later as the moon advances into the cold, wet, and signs of Scorpio, what's going to happen is that we're going to see a lot of fog here on the west coast and probably patches of other things like that. Now in a relationship, the same thing kind of happens. They get foggy. They get in the area where the relationship between the seventh and the first house becomes somewhat questionable. We don't know what's going on. Nobody's willing to make a real commitment here. And so out of the process of any kind of relationship, you have to wonder, wow, what's developing? What's going on? Where do I stand? And the best thing to do is sort of like play a Mexican standoff, as they say. Each wait for the other. And have some fun with that and see what goes on with it. And see if somebody will call and say, hey, what's the matter with me? And you can tell them, nothing. I'm in love with you, but you won't talk to me. The other thing is, you see that moon? That's in a nice cold, dry sign, and it's in trine aspect to that hot Mars in a cold, dry sign. Another indication of some serious shifts in the weather for us. The biggest thing is that if we start moving a little bit to the east from Los Angeles, where we are right now, I always kick off from Long Beach, but Long Beach and Los Angeles are about 40 minutes apart, so there's not too much of a big shift right here, maybe a degree, so it doesn't really matter. But the circumstances, as we start moving across the country, we'll notice that the sun will rise a little bit closer to this position, which means that Uranus is going to be moving away from here. So I have a kind of suggestion of you guys running on the cold weather, not to worry about the snow yet. I don't think you're going to see much snow this week. It just doesn't seem to be part and parcel of the deal. That means that, too, the relationships will also remain mutable. I think you'll see a lot of rain in New York. That may be probably the biggest problem where that's developing as that moves into the Capricorn. So a lot of freezing temperatures on the East Coast. As you see, when we start moving towards the east, the sun will get higher and higher in the sky because we're going east. We're diminishing the hours, or adding hours really, because we're a lot later than they are. So we cast for New York, you notice the sun would probably be up here, which means the Capricorn would be rising, and with that Mars there, you'd see some storms, you'd see some weather. So that circumstance is certainly starting to show itself. Although we saw some seismic activity, I don't think anybody called the seismic activity that's going on in the towards Japan, and of course the tsunami. We had a tsunami thing going on that nobody seemed to catch either. Interesting. I thought we'd see some seismic activity a little bit more east of where that happened. So I was expecting something on the west coast of South America, perhaps even a little bit here on the west coast, but we didn't get that. It happened more in the Pacific, creating some problems. So out of that circumstance, what can you say about that? Okay. Your personal moon, the moon in Virgo, says, take care of business, take care of the details, and especially with that nice trine to Mars. If you're trying to make an impression on your boss, I would think this would be the time to do it, because that moon there setting in a nice position. Virgo always says take care of the details, be sure you know what you're talking about before you make an expression. Don't let emotions get in the way. Just take care of business, take care of who you are and what your needs are for now. And that trine to Mars says you can get away with it right now. The square to the sun is a little bit less, because of the fact when you look at a trine, the trine is much more powerful than a square. So when you have one planet that's doing a square and a trine, the trine will always win over it. So that's very important to remember. So whenever you're looking at even birth charts that have the same thing, always remember that the trine will always overrule or overpower the square. So in this case, the moon, although it's trine to Mars and square sun, Mars is a much more stronger influence in that trine than it does with the square to the moon. So this is why we're looking at some strange weather. We're looking at hot and cold mixture, which is giving us some kind of a problem on the west coast. But that cold will override that sensation as you get further east. So you'll probably see a lot of freezing temperatures on the east coast. Not so freezing in the Midwest and in mountain areas like Denver. Standard season, I think, right now is going on. The cardinal points. Look at this. The first and 10th, the 10th and the 4th house are in a cardinal position. And, of course, you see this cardinal position up here for Libra. Libra, although might be wanting to take the top end, parties are really the big theme this year. The problem with parties being the big theme this year is that Venus is in its detriment, and I would say the best thing to do is make sure you don't make your friends mad during these parties. Don't overdo it, because a lot of times a water sign usually indicates some kind of heavy addictive personalities. A lot of drinking, a lot of drugging, a lot of partying. All of this stuff would indicate some probably negative circumstances. My suggestion here would be kind of take it easy, because that 10th house and the 11th is a lot of fun, but the thing is that you may not get everything you hope, wishing, and desiring for. Note, too, that Saturn at 7 degrees is also looking at Scorpio at 7 degrees, both in Scorpio, on that 11th house, saying kind of curb it, kind of curb it a little bit. So take control. Don't go off the deep end, and don't do anything in excess. That's the saying, kind of stay in a fixed position. The mutable says, come on, let it go. But this fixed area right here is sort of in the background saying, take it easy. Don't overdo it. Don't overspend. Don't overtake, because there's money. See the money in the 2nd house, ruled by Capricorn, which is Saturn. Again, up here in the 11th house. You know, this is saying I'd really like to impress people, but don't go overboard. So the spending this year might start curbing. That might show that too. My suggestion is for you to buy a smaller gift. You don't have to go extravagant. You know, they say it's a thought that counts. And for years, I've always sent a card saying I'm thinking of buying you a Bentley. So that, you know, you can do that sort of thing too. Just let them know how much you love them. Anyway, you have this for the night, and I hope you guys have a wonderful week. I'll talk to you next week when the moon gets over here to the sun and give us a new moon, and we'll talk about that then. Have a great week. Stay warm, stay dry, stay sober, and shop light. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.